Here we have a Link double ring mouthpiece that had been refaced a couple times. It was originally, you can even see the mark there, originally a 9 or 9 star. Let me look into that. Yeah, 9 star. It's still on the heel faintly, and there's no other original marks. You know, it's got F1 on here, serial number. It's tough to make anything out of that information. But it's been refaced twice by BP. It's Brian Powell, who originally had opened it up to 87, and then the client who owned it, I guess, talked him into going up to 95. So it was probably closed by somebody since it was originally a 9 star, and it might have been damaged, or somebody just wanted it closed way down. It's a shame. Don't see too many of these large ones. But after the second opening, the bite plate started showing through the rails. So it was very fragile, and it has since been dropped. So this is bent so much it's got a tear in it. And I've been asked to take a shot at repairing it. Instead of just saying no, I guess I'll give it a shot. It's actually by the same client who had me braze that mouthpiece that I have the video on the website. The one that Paul used to be owned by Paul Gonzalez. So what I'm going to have to do is similarly, bend this back as best I can. It's a shame this bite plate looks like it was probably a replacement. Or it could have been original, but it's in great shape, so I think it's probably a replacement. Got to peel that back because the amount of heat that I'm going to have to use to braze this was going to burn it all up anyhow, and I don't want to smell it. Plus, I have to groove out an area to reinforce. So, got to peel that off, prepare it for brazing, get in some extra easy silver solder. I don't keep a lot of that around here, and we'll see if I can give it a shot and bring this back to life. I also have another project that I've had a blank in a box that I needed to do some brazing on, and I've been kind of putting it off until I had another project to do. So, all right, I'm going to start prepping this and seeing what I'm going to get into. Okay. See how far we get with a little pry work. That doesn't always happen, but I pop this off. Ooh, it already has a bead of solder on it. Interesting. I don't know if that's soft solder. It might be. This is pretty soft. It's coming right off with a blade, so my guess is that's all like plumber's solder, not silver solder. So yeah, I don't know, this mouthpiece may just fall apart after I use the, I wouldn't do it with soft solder. So I am using silver solder, which is essentially brazing. It uses a lot higher temperature. It comes in like 4 different grades, from extra soft to soft, medium, or hard, but they all take, like 1,600 degrees or higher temperature to get going. So I'll be able to tap this a little straighter. That's interesting. So what we got to do is make the bite plate shorter. Fill this all in with metal and shorten the bite plate. It's kind of neat being a blacksmith, a mouthpiece blacksmith. Mini anvil and anvil and hammer. And when it's all done, the owner was hoping for me to reface it to 6-star, which is where it was before the drop. So at 95, so we'll give that a shot. Right now, it's roughed in. It's still bent closed a little bit. I haven't done any tip opening measurements yet or facing measurements. So right now it reads 82. But like I said, I'm probably gonna grind some of that out, and then I'll. So after that, I just tried to hammer it open a little bit. I probably weren't too far. So look at that, we're up to 95. So that gives you an idea of where it has to be. My fingernail still catches on some metal here and there, so I'm gonna have to groove that out enough. And I really don't even, this is a first for me, so I'm not sure what's going to happen because it's all the way broken through here. But if you got to do it on a mouthpiece, something like a double ring that sells for a lot of money. I mean, it's not going to be worth the same thing after the repair, but it's worth putting some effort into it, I guess, to try to salvage it. So there's still some original brass here. So it's just a very thin area here that's holding it together. So we'll melt out all this solder, like I said, and work on getting it filled in that far and maybe even a little further. And put a new bite plate in there. Okay, I'm going to first try to melt out the rest of this soft solder that's in the old repair. I'm going to use a propane and air torch, but this is a fairly efficient one, TS8000, so I don't need to use oxygen, especially for soft solder. So yeah, I don't use this tool a whole lot, but let's give it a shot. Well, nothing's pooling up. Well, maybe it did, because now I see more brass color. So, I had a nail ready to go in case I needed to scrape anything out, but I think it ran out. It looks like there's a little bead here, a little bead close to that break, but looks like all bare brass, that it all ran out away from the center. So, I might be able to pick away at it just to make sure that there's nothing else left on there. So that kind of sets us up for a repair. Looking at it from above, it looks like it's about ready to fall off, but there is a original metal from here to here in the middle that's holding it on there. I used a file and some sandpaper to clean this area as best I could. I've got some old flux here. Fluxes are usually used to put a joint together, but maybe this will help everything flow and hold together. So put a little of that on. I cut some strips out of the extra easy silver sheet solder I had, and I kind of pre-bent them to kind of fit. I don't know if that's going to help much, because once the flame starts heating this up, it's kind of might blow it out of position, but I'm going to start out this way and see how it works. And maybe I'll get lucky and it'll melt right in. Actually, being how this is going downhill, it'll probably slide off towards me. So, I don't know. I guess I'll try this, something like propping it up a little bit. That'll help me get the flame underneath the tip some. Probably real metal workers will think I'm nuts for trying this. But I'm not really joining anything. I'm just trying to fill. So, got a few spare strips that I can grab. I know from the last time. Once you get it hot, you kind of want to keep at it and not cool it and heat it up again, because then you might lose some ground. So that's the game plan. And it's going to take a while to heat up, and we'll give that a shot. Tell me if that wasn't one of the coolest things you've watched on a mouthpiece repair. Unfortunately, I see a void here. And I probably gonna have trouble because it wants to just disappear over there. So I really don't know what it's gonna take to make that fill in. I might have to heat and feed something over there. Let me give it another before it gets too cold. In pretty good. So what I'm going to try to do, just to give myself some insurance, is put another strip or two on this, and I really don't know if I'll be able to melt that without losing ground. So right there at the end, I was actually using the torch to move the metal over, but this crack opened up, so I'm gonna have to get some more and do like I did before, and just dab it on that end. But this is reheating pretty nicely, so I've got enough material there to work with and grind down. Last time I did this, some voids opened up as I ground it down, but so. Show you the 10 snips. Ooh. So Not pretty, but that's what I needed. I needed it more on the side to fill in that little crack. So once that this foil starts beating up, it's a lot harder to get the heat into it than when it's thin, is my logic. So I'm going to stop there. I have a pickling solution that I'm kind of supposed to use before and after. Helps treat. It's really made probably for joints more than it is fill repairs, but this is going to make a lot of noise. So because even though it doesn't look that hot, it still is screaming hot. Oh yeah, look at that. My piece of metal there is awfully hot also. So okay, well, let that cool real well, and then I'll start grinding it down, see what I have to work with. Okay, I started shaping it using my belt sander here. Take down those two blobs, and so far so good. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, that's a good start. The filing after the sanding. I may have a couple low spots about here, but I'm probably just going to live with that. Didn't look like anything else really opened up. I think this will face out smoothly, so I'm just going to keep going forward. To recap, this is the original bite plate I pulled off of it, so the metal used to stop right here. So we've gained this much fill-in material, and now I need to go across here and kind of create a new edge for the bite plate. I guess I'll kind of target for this corner where I have a little notch there already. So it takes a steady hand and a Dremel. So I might be able to reuse this, and I'll just trim it, get it back on there. Depends on how it cleans up. I'm not opposed to making a new bite plate, but just no reason to if that one's fairly new. Okay, after some hand filing, it's getting to look more and more like a regular bite pocket. Got to blend in the metal surfaces a little better, and epoxy will take up some of that gap. But what I want to do now is trim the bite plate to fit. So I'm going to do that using the belt sander a little at a time. grid on there. Had a coarser one when I was doing the metal work. Okay, that's pretty close. It's still a little long. I'll finish the rest on my workbench by hand. Okay, that's working. It's just a little high because the metal's still a little high. Things are looking good with this job. You can see I've ended up, I didn't know if I had to go flush or not, but I ended up going flush with the metal to get this bite plate to kind of lay in there right. And I'll be able to, sand it flush as needed. And, I did a little bit of facing work and tip shaping. So this is on its way. It's probably 80% done. Oh, anyhow, so I'm going to glue this up, epoxy the bite plate back on and let it set overnight. Even though this is kind of a 5-minute epoxy, it's better if you, give it even more time and get fully hardened. Just prop this up and then get a wet wipey to clean it off the rest of the way. More you clean off now, less you have to deal with tomorrow. All right. Okay, here's the completed job. You got that flush right here. Cleaned up the bite plate as best I could. It's kind of minor blemish there, tiny metal blemish there, couple other little ones here and here, just those little minor low spots. But the baffle's back to where it should be. It's got a nice tip rail, nice shape of a reed, matches that, matches all the perimeter of the reed. And look how much material we have now between the bite plate and the rail, where that was broken through before. Bite plate used to be about 1/8 of an inch longer, so trimmed that back, filled in with metal. And there you have a double ring safe from the scrap heap.